Amen.
Thank you very much, Member. Are there any apologies for absence? We have two, Member Jackson and Member Morris. They have sent their apologies. Any other apologies? There be no other apologies. We go to item 4. Let me welcome members of the committee to this sitting of the Joint Select Committee to consider and report on the proposal to be Portmore, the 15th Parish. As you are aware, we were expecting representatives from the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development to make a presentation today. We have before us, nevertheless, the written submission, but because of the possibility of the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic in the ministry, because a representative was tested positive, I believe, sometime this week. And as such, the permanent secretary, she was in the presence of that individual, and as such would have to take the necessary precaution and is under 14 days quarantine. And so we will not have the Ministry of Local Government in attendance today. But I'm sure, members, that we will be able to just do some housekeeping, if nothing else, to ensure that as we proceed with the deliberations and the work of this committee, that irrespective of unforeseen circumstances, we can get some meaningful work done. And so, members, let us move quickly into item 5, which is the reading and confirmation of the minutes. I must commend the staff of the Parliament for this detailed minute. In fact, I read it yesterday. I was just looking through it again this morning, and it really captured almost the full sentiments of the committee meeting, the presentation, the key points of the two presentations that we had on that day, and also the comments of the members. So commendation to Ms. Douglas Beckford and her team for putting together this minutes. Members, are there any omission, correction, amendment, anything? Omission, corrections, amendments, omission, correction, amendments. Can I have a motion for us to accept?
Seconded, Chair.
Okay, moved by Member Daly, seconded by Member Golden Campbell. Those in favor? Those against, the ayes have it. Matters arising from the minutes? Matters arising from the minutes, members?
I'm not too certain, Chairman. If we had a cutoff time in regards to persons who want to make their submission.
Yes, I believe it was February 14th. Because in fact, we had extended it another month or so. So in fact, we went through 2 deadlines. Yes, we went through deadlines.
So there is no other, there is no more room for anyone to come in.
I believe, member, that we had given sufficient time. Not that we want to exclude the participation of any Jamaican, but in fact, the Parliament utilized quite a number of media houses, the press, JIS, to get the information out. And I'm sure that even on social media, the whole matter of Portmore becoming a parish has been ventilated. The media, they have written on it, and we gave 2 deadlines. And right now, I think we are at a point where we have to just get the business done, the work done. So
and Chairman, even if they are not able to present to the Parliament, there is any room for persons who would want to express their views?
I think, remember that, in all honesty, we really were more than accommodating. We have I mean, expressing a view is different from a submission. So we have taken on board the submission. We have closed that. I mean, persons can always express their view, but as it relates to being an official submission, I think we have gone through 2 deadlines there and just need to move. In fact, we have quite a bit of work to be done. We have a number of agencies to make presentations, some in person, some written submissions. We have quite a number of other submissions that we need to look at. And maybe then, after we have gone through that, if it is the will of the committee, then we could ask for other submissions. But let us deal with the matter at hand.
Another question, though, Chairman, in respect to the community hall meetings. I was told that one was held. The community meetings.
We members have to take a decision, or we go through the process of community consultations. So that is something that we will also take on board. As a committee, we need to take a decision. I believe that in light of the pandemic, we might have to go virtual, or we have to, it depends on where we are when we reach to that point. But of course, community consultation is a critical part of the whole process. So we'll always try to engage as best as possible the communities.
You have not started, because I was told that there was a meeting held with various agencies last week or week before last. That does not form part of the... You're not aware?
No, I'm not aware.
Okay,
that is not an official meeting of the committee consultation, community consultation on behalf of this committee.
All right, thank you, Chairman.
But members, of course, you know that there are different groups within Portmore and community organizations that would want to have their own meetings. Matters arising from the minutes. Member Davis, you wanted to make a point, sir?
Getting a say. I remember that going forward, a part of the process would have been some community engagement.
Okay.
And at that stage, then they could have expressed their willingness or their unwillingness to see Portmore.
We will try our best to ensure that we devise a proper structure of community consultation, whether we go at the community level or we just have an open forum or a town hall meeting. That is something that I believe once we have ventilated or gone through the information before us, then we know how to make a presentation, a proper presentation to the community.
Mr. Chairman, you know, seeing that we are living in a virtual space now, and there are the challenges of meeting, whether face-to-face or virtual, when there's not a lack of Wi-Fi connectivity, there's also a lack of, you know, the level of resources that to get people to come on a virtual space. I'm considering that if a research poll would not be useful to guide us going forward. I mean,
you know, point well taken, but I believe Portmore is fortunate to be one of those areas where connectivity is relatively good.
Okay.
And we will utilize as much of the technology to engage communities in Portmore and around Portmore, because once you go virtual, it's open to participation from anywhere. And so that is something that we'll have to deliberate on and put together a proper strategy of engagement. And so we will definitely, in fact, we may have to break it out into groups. For example, we meet with the ministers fraternal first, you know, these different groupings, so that we keep the numbers relatively small. And of course, members, we have to be very, very, very careful now with the large number of positive cases that we are seeing, increases, we have to be very careful and go as much virtual as possible. So we anticipate that, you know, in the very near future, we'll see a significant reduction and even eradication of this virus, and it will bring back some level of normalcy to how we do business. Members, item 7, procedural matters. I believe that this is something that we really need to ventilate properly and make a decision as we go forward. Today is a prime example of us having to postpone a presentation because, again, we did not clarify the procedural matter in the sense that we could have asked, for example, the Ministry of Local Government to go virtual in terms of their presentation to us as a committee. And I will defer to Member Warmington, who is senior to me in terms of procedural matters and how the Parliament operates, to guide us as to suggestions as to how we proceed in terms of these kind of procedural issues.
Well, as I said before, it's a decision for the committee. Where present remotely is concerned, we can take the decision. So they can always make their presentation remotely here while we're here until we ask Parliament to allow us to meet virtually. So there's no problem with that. That's a decision of the committee.
So members, let me just deal with one matter at first. I know we have to go through all of that, but seeing that we have, we can go virtual in terms of the meeting or the presentation from the Ministry of Local Government, can we ask them to make a presentation next week, time allow for us to get that presentation from them? All right. You were saying
I would support that motion. That those who can present virtual or remotely, I think we should accommodate that.
Chairman, we want not for it just to limit itself to local government, but from all the other agencies who might have difficulties going along, that the committee take a decision for them to be...
Definitely. I believe that if they are, you do not want persons just to say that they cannot come in person and want to do it virtual. You know, so it must be reasoned why they want to go virtual. And so I think we can take presentations from the different government agencies virtually so that we can proceed with the business. I think, is that the will and pleasure of the committee? Any other procedural matter?
I noticed we don't really have a substantial technical team today. I no doubt with the changes that would have impacted. But I wonder too if we are minded to conduct, to hear presentations virtually, is there a bar to us? I mean, can the technical team also log into the committee virtually? I do have an impression that there are some concerns, and we are in a heightened positivity period. So I wonder if we couldn't just to try to limit the numbers, because their contribution could also be done virtually. And in certain regards, certainly when we're doing some of the submissions, I haven't found that we necessarily tap into them at this stage as much. So perhaps they too could, the committee would be minded to consider that.
Members? I don't think that I mean the general members of the committee would be averse to us having representatives from the support team, technical team, attending virtually as well, especially at this time. I think that we have to be very cautious, and as such, Madam Clerk, if persons are having difficulties, technical team members are having difficulties, then we could, entertain their participation by virtual means. Just to inform the committee that we got apologies from two of our technical staff, our support team, for this meeting. Right, so we are at the point where we have to set the date for the next meeting.
Chairman?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay, morning, yes, sir.
I
This morning.
can't recall, but are we planning to get the Ministry of Health?
Tomorrow, Thursday, next Thursday.
Are we planning to get the
Ministry
Ministry of Health? Are we planning to get their technical team to present to us? Because a part of the concern is whether or not Portmore should not have on itself a standalone hospital. So we would probably need to get the Ministry of Health here to give us their perspective as to, what Spanish Town can accommodate as against what a hospital in Portmore would be able to do in conjunction with Spanish Town at the same time.
All right, thank you, member. If you look at the status report, it will give us an idea as to where we are in terms of comments from relevant MDAs and, of course, some of the submissions that we have gotten from entities and individuals. Now, looking at it, we are waiting a response from the Ministry of Health?
Yes.
Okay, so we have not gotten a response. Okay. So so we are waiting a response from the Ministry of Health, but I believe that is a very important entity, not because we are dealing with COVID-19, but generally public health and general health of our citizens is very critical, and so we need to prioritize that presentation from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, especially as it relates to Portmore. The member is correct that the whole matter of an hospital in Portmore and the general wellness in Portmore. We know that there are a number of health centers in Portmore. We know that there are two major hospitals, one in Spanish Town and one at KPH, that is in close proximity to Portmore. But we would want to see how best all of that fits in the overall picture of Portmore becoming a parish, and if we're able to maintain or improve the standard of service to the citizens of Portmore. So I think the Ministry of Health members is a key agency to make a presentation. In fact, I think the two major concerns have been the road network and the hospital, and we have already heard from the NAA, and I know for a fact that in this year's budget, some amount of money has been allocated to do some serious road infrastructure improvement in Portmore as part of the process of giving the people of Portmore easier access within Portmore and to enter and exit Portmore.
What would be,
Chairman,
sorry, 1 minute. What would be also very useful, because I've been reading quite a bit, as it relates to TAJ. Would like for TAJ to give us an overview. Tax administration as it relates to. Yes, but we need to know, because remember now, when Portmore becomes a parish, the parochial revenue fund will be a direct connection to the property tax. So we need to know that there's a huge population, 180,000, but we need to know that what revenue will be derived as a result of property taxes being paid. Because, you know, the local government component, that's what keeps it going, especially the local authorities. So it is important for us to get a review from TAJ to say what Portmore is now contributing, right? As against what the parish overall of St. Catherine is now contributing, and what is the potential for even contributing more. Because I know there are a lot of small businesses in Portmore, and there are a lot of dwellings there that I'm sure that property taxes, I mean, you don't find most of those people evading property taxes. Plus, we need to probably know, well, the Ministry of Local Government could give us that, as to the percentage of compliance as it relates to property tax collection within the space that we are now seeking to have as a parish. Because all those things will have to be taken into consideration for it to, not only as a parish, but for it to operate in an effective and an efficient way. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, member. I think we have full support on that.
Mr. Chairman, just one other matter I wish to raise in relation to the discussion about our procedural meetings. We have agreed that the presenters will present virtually and that the technical team can participate virtually. I understand that at some point there were submissions made to Parliament to have committees meet virtually, but I don't believe it went any further than that. And I think part of the principle, as I understand it this morning, is that the committees have space to spread out. So I appreciate that viewpoint. However, in coming to Parliament to meet and in traveling here, there is exposure. I'm certain. I'm a mother at home with 3 children online school. And so every time I leave the house, I try to limit as much as possible my exposure. But I wonder if we could not seek to have this committee also meet virtually when it is practical and possible to do so. It doesn't mean that we have to exercise that option at every meeting, but it would certainly give us the flexibility to determine when, in fact, the committee can meet virtually and when we don't. I am certainly concerned about the numbers myself. So I put that to the committee, if we could consider that. If we had the permission from Parliament, then it's an option we could exercise when we chose.
Members, I think that is something that we need to revisit. But I'm going to ask us to let me do some research on it as to how we go about it and speak with the House leader on the matter. And then I'll make in fact, we are going to have some consultation on it and they bring it back to this committee, and then we make a formal presentation to the House for that Standing Orders Committee to look at it. But I understand and appreciate the point you just made, member. All right. Members, we, at the point of date of next meeting, I'm suggesting that same time next week, we just take the Ministry of Local Government presentation.
I would recommend that you put it for the following week. Because what is emerging now is that if persons are to go into quarantine, normally a minimum of 14 days, and I'm speaking of the PS herself, right? So I would suggest that we look
the 25th. All right, we can do it the morning of the 25th.
Yes.
The morning of the 25th.
I spoke to her this morning, and effectively she will be going in self-quarantine. So if she's, yes, she could, but I'm not sure what her health situation will be like. Because it affects different people in different ways.
do set it tentatively for that date and see what happened. Okay, member. Thank you very much for the suggestion. Members, you know, I must say that we appreciate the effort on the part of the members of the committee and the staff here at Parliament, you know, for coming out and providing the necessary support. You know, we are living in a very trying time, and I know some of us are very scared. You know, oftentimes persons would want to believe that politicians are not humans. You know, but sad to say that we are indeed humans, and we face the same challenges and even more than most. And so I'm very thankful for members for being here this morning. I mean, this is really a serious situation. I cannot overemphasize that. And at times it gets closer and closer to us, this whole COVID-19 pandemic. So I'm very appreciative of the support and for members taking time out and members of staff here at the Parliament. And so before I just want to say thank you all before we move for an adjournment. Member Miller.
Thank you, Sir Chair. Let me apologize for being late. You can guide me, Sir Chair. I don't know if it's in the best interest of the committee, but since it's a hot topic in Portmore in terms of the removal of the JPS office in Portmore, that, you know, when we're looking at Portmore becoming the 15th parish, we have minority shares in JPS. Is it in the best interest of this committee to even invite them to give their interpretation as to the way forward to serve the citizens of Portmore?
If you look at the status report, they were written to, and we are awaiting a response. And this was before the actual closure of the office in Portmore. So we will remind them, member, thank you for raising a point. We will remind them, send a follow-up letter asking them, you know, just to remind them that we are awaiting a response. One was sent. So that is a hot topic and something that, you know. Is that physical meeting? Yes, let's just say. Member Davis, are you the chair of the Joint Select Committee on the Electricity Act? No. It must be Member Isvaz. Okay.
I chair a committee at the ministry to look at rural electrification and streetlights. Yeah. So that would be different from
the Joint Select Committee, Sir Chair. I'm a member of that committee. The committee has not met as yet, but I think the date is for this month for the committee to meet.
Members, there's a meeting scheduled on the 25th at 10 a.m. for that committee meeting. Needs is the same day? Yes. I see the put it over here, sir. The hour is over here. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right. All right. Members, can I have a motion for us to adjourn? Moved by Member Warmton, second by Member Miller. All in favor? Those against, the ayes have it. Thank you, members.